of time to come through. The other warning as it's coming through is off to the south of that area in toward Montgomery County. And I'm going to put these watches and warnings on here so you can see where they are. The red ones, those are the tornado warnings. And the tornado warning has actually been trimmed back in Germantown as the storm is closer toward Ladensville, or just between Ladensville and Germantown. The circulation maybe just north of Montgomery Village, kind of where Brink Road, Whiteman come together in that part of the county. Damascus, you're in that tornado warning as well, and that extends in toward Glenwood, Lisbon, Long Corner. But it's the storm up between Mount Airy and Westminster that's going to ride, looks like maybe along or just west of Maryland 27, going in toward Carroll County there and far eastern areas of Frederick County. Mary, any other damage reports have been coming in?
Lots of calls up county of trees and wires. This is coming in from the Office of Emergency Management in Montgomery County. Again, folks, you call some people. If you don't think they've got this warning, make sure they know about it. And you do want to get inside and stay in the lowest part of your home or the most interior part of your home until this passes. These warnings are going to be in effect at least until 8 a.m. One of them, I believe, Howard said until 8:15.
Yeah, the 8 o'clock is the one for Montgomery and Howard counties. 8:15, that's the one in Frederick and Carroll counties on these tornado warnings.
So we got another few minutes to go where things are going to be a bit dicey out there.
Yeah, once this weather threat passes, we will get you back to programming. But whenever we have a weather threat, believe me, your safety, your personal safety is paramount. So we will stay with this until this threat passes. We got some other strong storms, even a little bit of lightning you see down to the south. But right now the concern is for the activity across Montgomery, Howard, Frederick, and Carroll counties. Up county, not so much in D.C., where we have 2 Doppler-indicated tornado warnings, but we're also getting all sorts of reports of trees and wires coming down, which have come down through Fauquier, Loudoun, now Montgomery counties. And I imagine with these gusty winds, whether or not there's a tornado, we're going to have some more damage reports rolling our way. Let me reset the picture for you, because we've had a line of showers and storms north and west of Washington ahead of a cold front. You see D.C. at the moment is clear, but this line is extending down across Montgomery through Fairfax. Has cleared most of Loudoun now, just about to Centerville and Chantilly and Manassas right there. Very heavy rains coming through with very gusty winds, and that extends down towards Spotsylvania and Stafford, west of Fredericksburg right now. The warnings, again, are to our north as that line is going through Damascus and Ladensville with potentially some damaging wind gusts at the moment. We're now looking at the velocity. This is the winds, not so much the radar on it, but the winds themselves. And even the storm that was up in Mount Airy looked a little bit more impressive a couple of scans ago, right there at 747. But this last scan, maybe not as much. So technically still, tornado warnings are in effect until 8 o'clock for Montgomery and parts of western Howard, and again for Carroll and southeastern Frederick counties, that other one, until 8:15. If you get any reports of any damage, again, hashtag WUSA9.
All right, Howard.
Weather. Yes, Mary.
Darnestown Road between Hunter Road and Dickerson Road. Wires and trees down the road is blocked.
And that is in the far northwestern.
Whitesbury Road and Sugarland Road. Boyd's, wires down and trees are down. So we've got lots of reports of damages coming in. Here's Pete Perringer also. Whitesbury Road and Sugarland Road just got that one in as well. So Megan is also back here monitoring what's happening on the roads. I'm mentioning these damage reports because we know that these are areas where this storm has been the most intense, and we're starting to see those reports of damage coming in. So this is the time that you do want to take this seriously. Go ahead, Howard.
Yeah, we've got on the phone Montgomery County Fire Rescue PIO, Public Information Officer Pete Perringer with us. Pete, we're getting all sorts of damage now in the northwestern part of the county of trees down, wires down. What can you add to that? All right, well, we were trying to get Pete back. Perhaps we're having some issues with the cell phone out there, because when the power goes down, certainly we can get cell phone issues. And in that part of the county, and I know Poolesville and Dickerson on the northwest corner of the county, which is up here, and you can see this is right back in this part. It's not that popular. It's part of the agricultural reserve, but still, if the roads are blocked, it's going to be a tough time getting to the schools. East of Germantown now, this is where the storm is. It actually looks like it's more towards Ladensville, with the tornado warning. That goes until 8 o'clock in toward western Howard County. So if you're in Lisbon and those areas in western Howard County, I do want you to take cover. This is a Doppler indicated tornado warning. However, even if we don't get a tornado, We certainly can have damage. It looks so maybe perhaps a little rotation chunk up in Etchison, near Mullenix and near Annapolis Rock Road. We see if you're in Lisbon, Long Corner, Mount Airy, Newport, I want you to get down into the lowest elevation. If you are listening in a school, perhaps, the hallway would be a great place to stay. Go to your tornado safe rooms there. Then this other stronger storm that I'm tracking, and this one looks like it's just on the north side of Mount Airy. You see that bright red area, and we'll just do what we call query it right there, talking about winds potentially, is it coming up here, the radio, winds 57 miles an hour, even if there isn't a tornado warning with that.
It's enough damage going on to take seriously.
Yeah, and especially with very soggy ground, we'll certainly get some damage here as trees have been coming down, taking some power lines with them. And let's throw some tracks on for you so you get an idea where this particular storm is going. And it looks like it's headed up toward Westminster. We'll see it in New Windsor just after 8, Westminster 8:09. If it holds together, we're talking Calton Acres at 8:11 and Hoffman's Mill at 8:14. The other storm to the south, which was the first tornado warning that we had, that one in Montgomery County is moving it toward western Howard. Looks like it's still got a little rotation near Etchison right now. See that green and red, that little couplet right here, as it's called. So we're looking at the rotation in that, and with that one also moving at about 55 miles an hour, you folks in Howard County, you better get ready if you're in Annapolis Rock. Florence 7:59, potentially near the Lisbon Elementary School at 8:02. So hopefully folks are holding their kids and will bring them into school once the threat passes. Morgan 8:05 and Woodbine School at 8:05 as well. And Mary, I see that also, the large tree down near Catoctin Circle in downtown Leesburg being reported as well. That report just came in a few minutes ago. Looks like that happened at about 7:26, and that was part of the report that prompted the Weather Service to issue the tornado warning for this storm that is now moving across Montgomery and almost in toward Howard counties. If you are just tuning in, tornado warnings have been north and west of Washington, as we've seen this line of storms produce some damage across parts of Loudoun County and Montgomery County, now about to move into Howard County with a second storm north of that, moving out of eastern Frederick in toward areas. And this is one I'm watching right here. See this kink right there? So that may, or if you can take me on the band, please, if I can point this out. There's a kink in the radar right there near the Shield and 70, just north of that. I'm looking at this right there. This to me looks like a rotation. That's a possible tornado headed toward Westminster. Warning on that one until 8:15. This line, when it went through Loudoun and Upper Montgomery and the Ag Reserve, produced some damage of trees down, power lines down. We're also looking at, yes, that's a lightning bolt here in early February, right? In toward areas near Chantilly, right along 28, just south of Sterling and Dulles Airport. And this line, as it was going through areas down in Fauquier County, also produced some damage of trees and power lines. So a very active front moving through. Good news is it's only been Doppler indicated, but the bad news is we can still have gusts 55, 60 miles an hour. And with soggy ground, we've been seeing trees down. Mary.
All right, Howard. Yeah, so this just in, Dickerson, eastbound Maryland 28 before Martinsburg Road, all lanes blocked. Downed trees and wires there. That came in earlier this morning. And then also there's a new severe thunderstorm warning for Baltimore, Carroll, Howard, and Montgomery until 8:30 this morning. So even if it's not a tornado warning, a severe thunderstorm warning should also be taken seriously.
Yeah, and you were talking about Martinsburg Road and 28. So these are these areas that we're watching right now over there. So Andy and you, Tony Perkins, joining me now from the Get Up DC team. Guys, I understand you've got some fresh information to add.
Yeah, thanks, Howard. It is Tony and Annie now, and on the phone with us, we have Pete Perringer, the Public Information Officer with Montgomery County on the line. Pete, thanks for joining us. You have been tweeting up a lot of the areas that are seeing some damage, even some collision and crashes. Fill us in on what you're experiencing.
Yeah, I haven't quite made it up to the Poolsville area yet, but pretty significant number of calls, volume of calls for trees down, wires down, primarily up in the Poolsville, North Germantown area. We have reports of a couple of collisions also, but primarily along Darnestown Road, Whites Ferry Road, Sugarland Road. Those are all roads that are used by folks up there in Poolsville and Boyd's area. Some roads are blocked. We do have some high water in a couple of locations. So again, pretty significant rain. It's starting to see some heavy rain now in the Rockville, North Potomac area as well. So pretty busy, pretty intense. There are some power outages, a lot of tree debris in the roadway and so forth. Obviously, had a pretty significant storm roll through here.
Pete, obviously this is ongoing, and we've had a tornado warning in effect. Have any of the calls that have come into you reported actual tornado sightings at this point?
But I mean, I haven't heard of any of that, but certainly the debris field is evidence that had a pretty significant weather event. So it may have been tornadic activity, but I haven't heard anything specifically, reporting such.
Pete, I know you're still making your way up to the Poolsville area to kind of take assessment of everything, but can you tell our viewers any specific areas that they should avoid because of those significant tree damage or downed trees and, debris on the roadway?
Well, of course, during the tornado warning, we want people to seek shelter and be mindful of that. But otherwise, it's pretty much the Darnestown Road, Bealsville Road area, White's Ferry Road, Sugarland Road, those areas that I mentioned. There are those road closures. Roads are blocked by debris and wires down up in those areas.
Hey, Pete, Howard Bernstein here. Any idea what they're doing with the schools in Poolsville up that way, like Poolsville High School? Are they holding them, or any idea if you heard from the county at all?
Yeah, I haven't. I'm not there, but I imagine they had a tornado warning. I did speak to somebody that lives up in that area. They sought shelter, so I assume that's what they're doing at the school. But obviously we do have a couple schools up in that area, and we did have a warning. We did ask people to seek shelter. So the schools have a plan in place, and I assume that they implemented it.
Hey, Pete, you just mentioned it, seek shelter. I know you deal with this type of thing all the time, but, just remind our viewers how they can stay safe during a tornado.
Well, certainly we want them to, seek, go to a low place, a shelter area that, let's say, away from any windows, things of that nature. Certainly we have those that have large trees in their yards and so forth. Just be mindful of that. But certainly, go to a low place. Typically, a bathroom is usually a safe area.
Pete,
with no windows.
Pete,
yes.
Forgive me. Let me interrupt you for a second. We've got another warning. Howard's
Well,
got
the good
that.
news is that the tornado warning for Montgomery and Howard County has been canceled. The one up in Frederick County, you're no longer in it, but still Carroll County around Westminster, that goes until 8:15. We do have the other warning in Montgomery and Howard counties. That's severe thunderstorm for damaging wind gusts and maybe some hail there. And then a new warning, severe thunderstorm, has been issued for areas just to the south and west of Washington through Fairfax, Prince William, and Stafford. That one goes until 8:30 as well. So at least we've peeled back the initial tornado warning, that's done the damage in Montgomery, Loudoun, potentially now into Howard counties. But unfortunately, and boy, there could be some hail here too. See that bright pink there between Willow Springs just west of Fairfax? Wouldn't be surprised if we had maybe a northern extent of these thunderstorm warnings. Even though there's none between southern Fairfax and the one in Montgomery County, still going to be some potentially damaging winds. The tornado warning that we're still tracking, this is the storm, and as we switch over, I'm going to switch over to what's called velocity mode so that we end up looking at the winds, not just the reflectivity, because that's just going to tell me a better idea about where some circulation may be. And it's a little bit tough to pick out here, and I'm trying to see if we can get a different looking Doppler for you and look at it from there. I mean, there's a broad rotation, if you will, in this area just to the southwest of Westminster, right there. So that's the storm that's being warned on, and it's moving northeast at about 55 miles an hour. So it'll be in Westminster in just a few minutes at 8:08, Mexico at 8:12, and then up into Manchester at 8:17. These are Doppler indicated, thankfully, but we're still talking hail, potentially half to 3/4 of an inch. That's a problem. These winds could still gust 50, 60 miles an hour plus, even without a tornado. And with soggy ground, the problem we're seeing here with soggy ground is that it doesn't take that much to get trees down.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it's
saturated with all the
exactly.
rain.
So the soil can't hold it as much. Annie,
Okay.
Tony?
Okay, Megan, I'll come to you with that in just a moment.
Yeah.
We want to get to a phoner now with one of our reporters, Nathan Baca. We do have some video coming in. Nathan, I believe, is in the Germantown area. Nathan, tell us what you're seeing, and let's take a look at the video you've shot.
Sure, Tony. Now, about half an hour ago or about 20 minutes ago, it came roaring through. You heard some of the sound through the trees. It's unlike this area to hear that sound. I got the phone alert. I've got a 1-year-old baby boy and my wife. We went downstairs. into the basement area, and then got that video. Just saw sheets of rain. It came through really quickly, and you just really get a sense of how quick it was. I'm looking at the sky right now, and actually I see some blue sky out toward the north, but we've got some older trees right here, including some that are in danger of coming down. We've alerted the county to it, and just some of the branches can fall down. Thankfully, I don't see any branch damage, falling damage right now, but sure, once I go around the neighborhood, there'll probably be some, just based on how that sound was of the wind roaring through.
Yeah, that must have been frightening for you. Good thing you got your family down to the basement. That's certainly what you should be doing, is seeking shelter. Nathan, I know you said you haven't gone outside yet, but do you think that there's any damage to your home? Did you hear anything? Did you hear any noise that could possibly indicate some damage?
I'm outside right now, just
Okay.
on the patio, looking around, walking around, and I'm not seeing anything yet, but I'm sure going around the neighborhood there might be some. And I know, obviously, down Darnestown Road and some of the areas just southwest of us, trees down. And just judging by the sound of that wind, certainly wouldn't be surprised about hearing more in the area.
All right, Nathan, thank you very much. Keep us posted on what you're seeing out there. Nathan Baca again reporting from the Germantown area and in Montgomery County. Megan Rivers was telling us just a moment ago we have a number of accidents across the area. Obviously, this all occurring during the morning rush hour, and there's some collisions. Megan, what's the latest?
Yeah, we do have one along Old 100 Road at Frederick Road. We have a report of that crash in that area. That's in Frederick County. And we also have a number of trees down. So Whites Ferry Road, Sugarland Road, Darnestown Road, West Hunter Road, and Dickerson Road. There's all reports of trees down in that area and that those roadways are blocked. So we'll continue to monitor and update you with any information that we get about any road closures, collisions, as well as trees down in the area. Howard?
Yeah, Megan, just getting a report now in Leesburg of a trees down on a house on the 1000 block of White Place Southwest. That is in Loudoun County in Leesburg. That happened at about 7:20. Right now, we still have one tornado warning for this Doppler indicated storm with rotation. And just looking at it, it looks like you can you can definitely see in here how the winds are feeding into the storm that way and this way. So we've got what's called a supercell thunderstorm whenever they're rotating like that, and this is what are precursors to tornadoes. So we've got the storm, looks like it's right over Westminster now. So you should be taking shelter until this passes, and then it's going to be moving to the northeast at about 55 miles an hour. So Mountain Lake View at 8:08, Mexico 8:09, and Manchester at 8:14. This is right over Westminster as we speak, as the storm is moving northeast at 55 miles an hour. New Windsor, it seems to be past you as well, but right now Westminster, is seeing the brunt of it. The other places we're watching, thankfully, the storm that produced the damage that Nathan was talking about, and we heard from Pete Peringer, that now is across with a severe thunderstorm warning. Eldersburg, right down 32 to West Friendship, down toward Dayton, cutting right across as it moves east-northeast at about 55 miles an hour in toward Howard County. So if you're watching us up toward like Ellicott City and those areas, you need to take cover on that. The southern part of that, strong but not severe through Rockville. Strong storm, not severe in Fairfax until you get south over toward areas just east of Burke. Lorton, parts of Prince William and Stafford, Alexandria, just on the borderline of that severe thunderstorm warning, which goes through Dale City as well. That one is going to produce some gusts over 50 miles an hour. And with the saturated ground, the problem is that we're looking at potentially some trees and wires coming down on that. I want to track this.
Poles down, 4 large trees down, partially uprooted. And then in Dickerson at White Ferry Road and Sugarland Road, wires down across the road. So that also does not make for a very safe commute.
No, and that line of storms to the west will be at Quantico at 8:08, Indian Head about 8:17, and here in D.C. 8:21. Once that passes, the temperatures will drop. We'll be in far better shape as far as severe weather, but the winds are going to kick up with that wind advisory. We're still expecting gusts behind this in the 40, maybe 50 mile an hour range for the rest of the morning into the early part of the afternoon. So that's what we're watching, that storm down there. And this other storm also, and we'll track this real quickly for you, the one in Howard County, that one as it moves off to the northeast, east-northeast at about 50 miles an hour. Columbia 817, Towson 830, Baltimore at 835. And I do imagine that they will be holding flights here until this passes, so don't be surprised by that. And before we get back to Annie and Tony, just want to take one more look at that storm, which looks like it's right over the Westminster area. So if you are north and east of Westminster, up 27 toward Manchester, get in your basement, get in your lower level. Treat this as an actual tornado on the ground, and let's just hope that the damage from the winds with this is on the minimal side. Annie, Tony, over to you.
All right, Howard, thank you very much. As we start to get video and pictures, photos in of some of the damage that we're seeing, some of the weather conditions that we're seeing, we want to show you some of those. This first one is from @Corey Demko. This is a view of the line of thunderstorms as they moved through Culpeper in Virginia. You can see that demarcation right there pretty clearly of the clouds.
And Howard, you please weigh in on this, but I mean, you see the low-lying clouds
Yeah, it looks like a shelf cloud, often out ahead of severe weather, where this cold pool comes out. It'll undercut some of the, and just the way the atmospheric physics are. When you see like a lowering, like a roll or shelf cloud like this, yeah, severe weather is what produces this. This is one of nature's indicators to tell you, take shelter now when you see that coming at you.
Okay, so Corey Demko, thanks for sharing that photo with us. Please continue to share your photos, and we'll share them on the air. Please use GetUpDC. This is a tweet indicating that Watkins Mill High School is currently under a shelter-in-place mode. This is, of course, Watkins Mill High School in Gaithersburg, Maryland. You can see the students there lined up. Tornado drill in place.
Good job, Montgomery County
Yes.
Schools, for practicing those tornado drills and putting them into place right now.
And this is exactly what you said they should be doing in the schools.
Yeah,
going
and
in
this
the
is why we
hallways.
practice. This is why we urge tornado drills. They do it every year in mid-March in Virginia, statewide tornado drill. And I would hope that Maryland does, and DC, I wish they would all do it on the same day to get awareness about severe weather, because I know it's February, but severe weather season is just around the corner. This morning we're tracking a couple of severe thunderstorms. One tornado warning up toward the Westminster and Carroll County area for a few more minutes. And once that passes, we'll try to get back to programming. But we still have a threat, though, and want to keep you abreast of the threat in Howard County. You see the storms coming now past Eldersburg there toward Reisterstown, Randallstown. It's approaching Ellicott City here, Pine Orchard, Clarksville, knocking on your doorstep, down through Ashton there as we get back into Montgomery County. But they're not in the warning. In fact, areas in the warning in Montgomery County, that storm has passed for you. Still a strong storm, and then some of the heavier rains now getting into northwest D.C. Boy, a real mess, I can imagine, on the Beltway here, coming across the American Legion Bridge out through Tyson's Corner with torrential downpours, and then another severe thunderstorm warning with this line, which is coming, it's passing Dale City, approaching Lorton. It's almost toward Route 1 and 95, and this sucker's moving again east-northeast at about 50-55 miles an hour. So this will be flying through the region. And when you have a storm moving that quickly, it could just translate the forward speed into winds. So Franconia 817, Lorton 812, DC just about 820, 823, National Harbor 828, and Clinton at 836.
And
Annie?
Howard, I just want to mention an update. We just had Pete Perringer on the phone with us with Montgomery County. He was going down a list of street closures and things like that, collisions, as he made his way up to Poolsville. He just updated us on an incident on Route 109, Old 100 Road, a tree on top of a car. The road is blocked there, so please avoid the area. There are injuries, which they have units on the scene evaluating what's going on, but there's debris on the roadway. Again,
Do you know where on 109
a tree
that is?
on the car. It just says here Route 109, Old 100 Road. It was an update
Old
to
100 and Frederick
Road. Yeah.
That's 350. That's all right. That's 355. So that's the Hyattstown, not Hyattsville. This is north of Clarksburg. So if you use 355 from Urbana or Clarksburg to get to 270, that's where the problem is. There's a traffic light right there. There's a volunteer fire department. So somewhere in that vicinity where a tree has come down, 355 Old 100 Road. I unfortunately know that intersection very well.
As we're seeing your radar image, and we're kind of focused on Virginia right now, I want to mention that Leesburg Police just a few moments ago tweeted out that they've received reports of multiple trees down throughout Leesburg at this time. They have crews out, or crews have been notified. They are beginning to respond. Motorists in the Leesburg area should expect delays. They are asked to please use caution during this morning commute.
Yeah, and that tornado warning, by the way, up in Carroll County. That one's been extended, or a new one, if you will, till 8:30 for the northern part of that. So this storm is now past Westminster. Looks like it's just near somewhere between Manchester and Hampstead, where we're seeing the rotation as the storm is moving very quickly. So those areas to the north of Manchester are now under a tornado warning as well. And that is way up there in Carroll County. And then the line itself is what we're tracking with the severe weather, that severe thunderstorm warning across parts of Howard. Montgomery's kind of out of it right now, and the west side of Baltimore. And then this whole cluster of a very heavy line of rain and wind, not all severe, coming through D.C., eastern Fairfax, right in the heart of the metro at a terrible time of day. And then it becomes severe. They canceled some of the severe warning there, 395, part of Fairfax County, still torrential rains, but you get south of Florida toward Dale City and Indian Head. And guys, when I see this is one of the things that concerns me when I look at radar. You see right here, this little notch on the backside, and then a little notch here. So these are wind feeding into that, and then that's how you can get a rotation in between them. So somewhere around Woodbridge, if we have any rotation, I'll check velocities in a moment. This is still potentially could produce a very short-lived tornado in that area as it moves off toward the northeast at about 55 miles an hour. So let me just track this real quickly, and you'll see it's going to come right up toward Gunston Heights, 818, Mount Vernon, 826, National Harbor, 832. You got to be prepared for this, for damaging winds with this line, and even still can't rule out the possibility of a brief spun up tornado.
I'm just going to piggyback off your Northern Virginia. Right now, it looks like Dominion Energy is reporting 8,900 people, so 8,900 people without power right now, and that's out of Northern Virginia. Also, we have Leesburg Police on the line with us.
Yeah, we mentioned Leesburg just a few moments ago. Joining us on the line now is Officer Michael Drogan to tell us about some of the damage that we're seeing there. Officer Drogan, are you there?
I am.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's quite busy. Tell us what's happening in Leesburg now.
So in Leesburg right now, I'm looking out the window and everything looks pretty good. We're just kind of drizzling, but a little while ago we did have some substantial winds and substantial rain, which led to some trees down throughout town, which is impacting the morning commute. We had a report of 1 or 2 trees down on the Leesburg bypass in the eastbound lanes in the area of South King Street, which is definitely impacting the morning commute from parts west of us. And we have other isolated reports of trees down throughout town. But we've got VDOT crews en route, and our town crews and officers are responding throughout the town to remove these trees from the roadway and get everything cleared up again.
Do you know at this point, when the trees come down frequently, power lines come down as well? Have you seen anything like that or gotten any reports of that?
I don't myself have any reports of power outages yet. It is possible that there are throughout the town, but I don't have that information. We did have a couple reports of a few of our of our traffic lights going down. But we've got town crews out there either restoring the power to them or setting up generators. So it's my understanding that those, if they're not fixed right, should be fixed shortly.
Officer Drogan, it's Annie Yu here. I'm sure you are getting an uptick in calls for trees down and services, crashes, what have you. Do you
Absolutely.
do you have extra officers coming in to help out with all the calls coming in?
So I don't have that information right now, but if our manpower got stretched too thin, that would definitely be an option that we could do.
Got you. Okay. Officer Michael Drogan is with the Leesburg Police Department saying that there are trees down in that area. Things are generally calmer now from what you're seeing as far as the weather itself goes.
Absolutely. It's a light drizzle at most right now, and traffic seems to be flowing other than the couple points that we had, the Leesburg bypass and a few other areas where they're still working on getting those trees cleared up.
All right, Officer Drogan, thank you very much for joining us. We will talk. We'll check in with you again a little bit later on this morning. We appreciate it.
Sounds great.
All right, let's go back to the weather team to get the latest on the storms as they move through. Howard.
Well, we're still tracking the tornado warnings well to the north now. They're out of our area. They're one left northeastern Carroll County there. You can sort of see the brighter colors even north of Manchester now as this is tracking up in toward Pennsylvania, eventually toward the York area, the way the storm is moving. Around here, we're tracking severe weather. What we're looking at now, I know it's not the usual picture here, but this is the velocities, and I start to look to see where greens and reds come together. So when I start to see that, if they get strong enough, like here, just south of Laurel, that's an indication of a possible developing rotation. And this is also something the Weather Service watches, and they'll be issuing the warnings officially. But that's got my attention for areas around Laurel, moving up to the northeast as we see this activity moving, booking. Tony, this stuff's ripping northeast at 55 miles an hour. So this storm, strong one, Maryland City 822, Jessup at about 826. Farther to the south, we've been tracking the severe weather as it's coming in toward Fairfax County, and there may be a tiny bit of rotation even down toward Indian Head now. It almost looks like, as we look at the radar, that you could imagine some of the winds coming this way toward that. So,
and Howard, let me just
Silver
ask
Spring.
you, I'm sorry.
Silver Spring, a tree fell on a house, no injuries. This is going to be
Piping
at-
Rockway, yeah.
Yeah, 17 Piping Rockway.
All right, Mary, thank you very much.
Yes, Tony.
The tornado warning that was in effect for Carroll County, that has now expired?
The one for most of Carroll County has expired. They just canceled, it looks like, the severe thunderstorm warning that we were looking at. So the only thing we have now warning-wise is the tornado warning for far northeastern Carroll County and the severe thunderstorm warning across Howard and Baltimore and Carroll County. So it does appear, at least at the moment, that this line is coming through. It's not going to be pretty as it comes through, but the good news is that the warnings, at least locally, have all been canceled or expired. And let's
Okay.
check in with Megan. She's got some traffic for us to
Well,
share.
right, yeah, that's right, Howard. Right now we're monitoring these red spots that we're seeing here on the map. This is in the Frederick area and beyond. We have a lot of slow spots in the area, and that's the reason being is because we have a number of trees down and a couple of crashes to let you know about. We've been telling you about this one along Old 100 Road and Frederick Road, and I believe Mary was just telling us this involves a tree on top of the vehicle in Montgomery County.
And
then we
Megan,
also-
that's actually a little bit farther south. It's toward Hyattstown. It's about 4 or 5 miles south of Urbana, right there on 355.
Okay. And then we also have road closures at White's Ferry Road, Sugarland Road, Darnestown Road, and West Hunter Road and Dickerson Road. All of those roadways are blocked due to trees being down in that area. Another thing that we're seeing a lot of reports of on Twitter, we're seeing a lot of reports of power lines down. So if you do see power lines, do not drive over them. If you see trees down in the roadway, do not attempt to maneuver around them. Just go ahead and stop and take an alternate route. Howard?
All right, yeah, we're tracking these storms here right now. Heavy rain. We're going to be on with you for about 9 more minutes or so. We want this to come through and be done and get you back to regular programming. But we're on this weather alert at the moment because we had some tornado warnings. We've had many reports of damage already, new ones that are coming in with these lines of storms that are now coming right through Washington. If you're in southeast or eastern part of the district, it's coming in just a few minutes, but it's pouring to beat the band out here in D.C. It's approaching 395 from Arlington. Alexandria just starting to get toward you in the next few minutes, and you see even there could be some small hail near Accotink with this as we're watching this storm now plowing toward southwestern areas of Prince George's and western Charles. It's in toward Indian Head now, all to Ricin and Doncaster, through Quantico, not quite to Nanjemoy. Give it a few minutes, and we've had another severe thunderstorm warning at Caroline and Essex counties there, south of Port Royal, crossing 17. So we'll watch this line as it is now toward Colonial Beach. It'll be crossing in toward St. Mary's County. The rest of the county, we're north of Leonardtown, down toward Swan Point in Charles County, up toward Mechanicsville. You guys are dealing with that line of severe weather, but at least, guys, the warnings, and I'm very grateful for that, are mostly gone. One last tornado warning for a sliver of Carroll County, although that storm now looks like it's really has passed most of the area. I don't really see much potential rotation with that on the reflectivities, but it looks like it's actually up almost in toward either northwestern Baltimore County or up just about to be in toward Pennsylvania. Annie, Tony, over to you.
We got a live shot of the Key Bridge at George Washington Parkway if you guys want to see what it looks like outside right now.
Sure, let's see if we can take
On the
that.
traffic computer. It's going to be on Megan's traffic computer. It's just showing some rain coming down, wet roads.
Okay, don't have
Maybe
that.
CG11, guys. Try CG11.
Okay, while we're trying to find that, let me let you know, there are a lot of reports coming in pretty quickly right now from all across the region, particularly areas where the storm has come through. This is Germantown. Let me just mention one thing quickly. In Leesburg, there's now, our own Melissa Nord is reporting that chimneys have been toppled at an apartment complex off of Clark Court in Northeast. So we'll try to get some images of that.
Okay.
This is where?
This is a video from Germantown. This was shot by our Nathan Baca. He was just on the line with us and shared that he was at home. He got the warning on his phone. He and his family quickly ran downstairs to the basement, and that is where they sought shelter. So this is, you can see the dark ominous clouds, the low-lying clouds there. He said it was very quick moving. Assessing the damage on site, but it looks like this is from the patio of his backyard there. Lots of damage to report, obviously. Pete Paringer also just tweeted out some pictures, if we can get that, of a vehicle that ran off the road. There are some injuries. This is Norbeck Road. It is closed, so avoid Norbeck Road, a very popular thoroughfare there. Some lanes are blocked on that road. Also keep in mind that we talked about this with Leesburg Police. We tend to see the uptick in calls with people calling in down trees and road closures and crashes. Montgomery County is on a condition red, and what that basically means is that they do see a high volume of calls coming in, and so you may see the response times adjusted, obviously, and some limited road emergency radio and phone usage as well. So please keep that in mind.
Mary mentioned a few moments ago and has tweeted about some damage. Silver Spring, a tree on a house, no injuries. That's on Piping Rock. In Germantown, on Circle Gate, a tree onto a house with no injuries. We have that graphic up that says tornado warning. Want to go back to the weather department, but right now the only tornado warning that we have in our region is Northeast Carroll County. Correct?
Yeah, we could probably peel that back for the most part, because that's going to expire in just a few minutes if it hasn't been canceled yet, because the storm itself, well, technically till 8:30, but that storm is now gone out of that box, so we're not worried about that. We do have one severe thunderstorm warning on the west side of Baltimore. Lots of heavy rain coming through D.C. down into Charles County. This is over by the Canal Road and the Key Bridge, it looks like?
Yes, that's the Key Bridge.
Yeah, near Canal Road. We were just looking at that. And then and that's that heavy rain and that's coming through D.C., so that's really slowing things down for the rush hour. This line goes through Mount Vernon, down through approaching Accokeek. Indian Head, you're almost out of it, but the rest of Charles County, Prince George's County, a very strong line of rain and heavy winds. This has a history of producing damage. We know there are trees down, there are wires down. We've had structural damage with trees in homes. Melissa Nord reporting there were some chimneys that were blown down in an apartment complex. So yeah, even though there are no warnings at the moment, don't take this lightly at all. And the only severe thunderstorm warning south is in Carolina and Essex counties with this storm that's approaching Colonial Beach, it looks like, or maybe just south of Colonial Beach in the next few minutes.
Howard, let me ask you a quick question. As this storm races eastward, heading towards the Potomac River, how would the river impact this storm?
I don't think the river right now is going to have a lot of an impact, but as it gets toward the bay is cold. It's in the low 40s. So when you've got lines like this time of year, they're looking for energy. Granted, there's a lot of upper level energy that feeds it, but it's right now we temps near 60 out ahead of it. It gets to the bay where temperatures are like 40, 42, and it stabilizes that line a little bit. So it may just weaken some as it gets toward the cold waters of the Chesapeake. So if you're on the eastern shore, my feeling is it won't be as bad as it has been here, but still, we're going to watch this nonetheless.
All right. Thank you, sir. Again, we're watching a series of severe thunderstorms move through the area. We have had tornado warnings in effect through portions of the morning. Right now, the strongest of the storms moving through Washington, D.C., Montgomery County, about to enter into Prince George's County, across in portions of Alexandria. You can see by the radar here, all of that is tracking to the northeast, moving very rapidly across the region. There are reports of damage across the area and reports of some power outages.
And we're going to head on to our Megan Rivers now, who's got a handle on all the crashes. Megan, I know there's so much going on, but tell us what some of the recent accidents and collisions are.
Well, that's right, Annie. Right now, we're taking a live look at 66 because, like Howard and Mary have been saying, the storm is moving through Virginia. So this is as folks are making their way into the metro area. And as you can see, traffic is kind of delayed in some areas. It's kind of slow moving. We don't have reports of new accidents in this area, but we can see that this is an area just by how wet the traffic camera is where a lot of rain is moving through. So another thing to remember is to be mindful of ponding in the area when you have storms like this. That can cause you to hydroplane if you roll too fast through those bodies of sitting water on the sides of roads. So be mindful of that. And again, if you see trees down, don't go around. If you see power lines down, don't ride over those power lines. You want to make sure that you do not ride over those power lines. Back up, stop, and take an alternate route. Tons of accidents. We'll be tracking all of those, but I'll send things back to you guys for right now.
Hey, let me call on Audible if I can. If you guys can find CG19 in the router, CG19, we've got the tweet from Pete Peringer here. It's a quad pic. Pretty impressive damage that we were looking at. Mary, you want to describe it?
Yeah,
That Pete tweeted out, CG19?
it looks like we've got a tree that hit into this car because of the wind damage, and it's like crushed it almost like an aluminum can.
The one on Norbeck
You can see
Road.
that. If you can get that out. CG19, is it?
Yeah, it's
Howard?
coming, it's coming. Just be patient. But so that was Norbeck Road, and where?
Looks like Lay Hill Road and also Norbeck Road. So that it's in that area that we've seen the most damage here from the wind that we saw this morning. But yeah, definitely some incredible damage here.
It's a little out of sync there, but you get the idea, unfortunately, that we had.
Yeah. I think even just a glance at that is a pretty telling tell of what was happening this morning as these severe and strong storms pushed in.
And Howard, talk about the wind gusts, because I'm seeing tweets of some damage in Leesburg, and one person shared their backyard, the fence literally came down.
Yeah, I mean, we probably had some gusts 50, 60, maybe more than that, but with the soggy ground, it didn't take as much wind potentially to blow something over. But when we've got those gusts at 60, and they could have been higher than that as we go throughout the rest of the morning. And here's one of the pictures there that Pete had tweeted out, and
you can see the top of the car is crushed all into the doors are all crushed. It looks like it's been in an accident.
Yeah, and it looks like it's actually blown around as we look at some of the other ones.
It ran
here.
off the road.
Oh, is that what
Yes.
happened? Okay.
Do we know if there were any injuries with this?
That I don't know, but this is, the airbags got deployed, but clearly the weather, a major factor in what was going on here. One adult non-life-threatening injuries, according to the tweet from Pete Peringer there at Montgomery County Fire Rescue.
Okay, very good. Once again, here's a look at the radar as we're monitoring the strong storms as they move through the area. The tornado warnings that were in effect in our region have expired at this point. We continue to see severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. All of this, of course, occurring during the morning rush hour. Complicating matters, there are trees down, wires down across portions of the region. Reports of damage, as we've been showing you some of those pictures, and reports of power outages.
Tony, maybe
as
we
well.
go back to that CG19 source. These are more pictures from Pete Peringer. This is over by, it was, I believe, 28 and 107, again, in the ag reserve part of the county. And you can see the wires down there. Just going to throw a few of those. See how those trees were snapped there, and obviously taking some power lines down. And this is going to take a little while to clean up. Again, Route 107 and 28 in the northwest part of Montgomery County.
And again, so Howard, soon we'll enter the phase a little bit later on after the storms move through where we'll have investigators out there to survey the damage, and they'll be able to tell us, was there in fact a brief touchdown of a tornado or something?
Yeah,
like
and they'll
that.
do that. They'll look at radar data as well to put a picture together. I do want to show you, we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning for Prince George's County. That one goes until 9 a.m. It's for the southern part of the county. So if you're south of 50, this one impacts you more than if you're north of Route 50. And the hazard with this is potentially 60-mile-an-hour gusts as these storms are moving east at about 50 miles an hour. So 50 miles an hour, and we'll go just a little bit faster, maybe 55 to track it, give you a minute or two. You can see how the storm is going to be over toward Brandywine at 8:39, Waldorf 8:36, Upper Marlboro at 8:44, and even in the Annapolis area just before 9 a.m. So one severe thunderstorm warning. The tornado warnings, again, they are gone. As we set the big picture for you, we just have the damage now that's coming in across the area from these very strong winds over soggy ground. And let's not forget, we have a wind advisory from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're still expecting gusts 40, 45, maybe 50 miles an hour with very soggy ground. Some areas that may have escaped some of the damage from this line, not quite out of the woods yet.
Yeah, and as far as we know, Watkins Mill High School is still sheltered in place. I'm also seeing reports, and we'll get this confirmed, Quince Orchard and Northwest High Schools, plus some others, are sheltering in place as the tornado warning was issued.
But the warnings have expired. There are no tornado warnings. I believe it is safe to get back out of the hallways into the classrooms there. Good job on taking coverage, you should have, but at this point, the only warning we have is that severe thunderstorm warning in Prince George's County. So that's one of those situations where you stay away from the windows until the storm has passed. And, we will see improving conditions rain-wise as we go throughout the next hour or so. Tony, Annie?
We can show you a little more video as reports of damage continue to come in. This is from Leesburg, the Leesburg area, and you can see, looks like a tree down. Looks like a tree. Okay, yeah, you can see there one image of a tree down. Again, if you're seeing anything, be safe, but you can send us photos, you can send us video, tag us on Twitter at WUSA9, use the hashtag GetUpDC. Yeah, you can see here tree damage. It's pretty significant tree damage on the side of the road. Again, this is coming to us from Leesburg, and this is from @TaxBases via Twitter. We thank you for that video and the permission.
Tony and
to use
Annie,
it.
I'm getting some new images from Pete Peringer up
Yes.
county there, and we have them on CT19.
Yep,
This
the
would
quad-
be 109 just to the east of 270, and there's a tree down across the road. They're trying to remove that from there. That's another angle, and this is where some of that branch came in. So it wasn't quite 355. It looks like it was between 355 and 270. And I'm hoping that nobody was in the passenger seat, but you can see when things are falling,
Oh, my goodness.
they take, they're indiscriminate on where they go.
Yeah.
And that's quite a picture there.
That's
Again, these are from Pete
scary.
Peringer of Montgomery County Fire and Rescue on his Twitter feed, and we thank Pete for getting out there and giving us an idea of what's been happening up county. And all right, guys, back over to you.
Also on Route 107 and Route 28, you've got some lanes blocked there because of wires and trees down. You have officers on the scene directing traffic, so please approach with caution. Watch out for the officers. This is just one of those days that you do not want to be heavy with the gas. Just take it easy, leave plenty of space between you and the car in front of you, and you never know when you're approaching live wires that have been down, so just be very careful, especially as you make those turns as well. But again, Route 107, Route 28, some lanes blocked there. Avoid the area for wires and trees down. Officers are on the scene directing the traffic there.
Slow-moving traffic too. If we can pull up the traffic camera, we have slow-moving traffic as along 270. This is a live look as folks are coming out of Germantown, making their way in those southbound lanes. We're not seeing a whole lot of traffic or any kind of congestion or slowdown in those northbound lanes, but as folks are making their way into the metro area, you're seeing that slowdown. Like Annie and Tony were just saying, again, if you see trees on the roadway, you see power lines down, avoid those areas. And ponding is another thing to be mindful of as well as you're riding through the area to make sure if you do, you slow your speeds down. So if you do come across, puddles of water and sitting water, that you don't accidentally or inadvertently hydroplane. Howard?
Yeah, just happy to tell you we don't have any tornado warnings. We still have one severe thunderstorm warning. This is for Prince George's County until 9 a.m., and we'll show you where it's headed. Upper Marlboro, Clinton, looks like Brandywine is in and up to Morningside. This is moving east at about 50 miles an hour. And the concern with this is that we could have some gusts to 55, 60 miles an hour here. So we're watching this very carefully for you as the storm is just cranking eastward and maybe east-northeastward. So we expect in your Brandywine at 841, Upper Marlboro 846, Stewart level at 856, and even Queen Anne 849. So if you are in the path of this, stay away from the windows as it comes through. If you want to be extra safe, go to your basement, just wait for things to pass, because with the ground being so soggy, it doesn't take as much wind to knock down a tree and cause problems. And you've been seeing some of the damage we've shown you from Montgomery and the Loudoun counties, and even in Fauquier counties. We're waiting for some pictures there, but that was where the first reports of damage from trees down and power outages came this morning as this line was coming at us from the west-southwest at 50, 55 miles an hour.
All right, we continue to track severe weather. As Howard mentioned, luckily the tornado warnings have expired, but severe weather continues to move through the region, moving through, entering Prince George's County as we speak. So we're going to stay on the air a little bit longer to help you get through this and stay safe. We do want to mention a tweet just about a minute ago from Montgomery County Police. They say there are multiple closures and major delays on Route 28, Darnestown Road, in the Poolsville area due to the weather-related issues. They say avoid Route 28 and Route 28 and White Ground Road. There are multiple trees down. There's a collision. Also Route 28, White's Ferry Road, I think our traffic team reported on. Trees down there. Debris, poles, wires in the road at Route 28 and Bealsville Road as well.
Okay, so just to be clear, the tornado warnings watch is all out of here, but we are still under a severe thunderstorm warning until 9 a.m. So that is why we are here with you. We're going to go back to this video out of Leesburg, Virginia. That is where they saw significant damage, lots of wires down, trees down. And if you look here, just wait a few seconds, you'll see just a row of trees down there along the roadway here. We're not exactly sure which road this is, but again, this is Leesburg. If you are seeing anything around your area, if you are on the road yourself right now, obviously stay safe, but when you can, please share those videos and pictures with us. Here it is right here, this significant tree down. along this roadway here. But this is pretty much the scene across some parts of the D.C. region. Lots of wires and debris on the roadway.
So that's Leesburg. Now we want to go to back to Montgomery County. Pete Perringer on the phone with us once again. Pete, let me hold you for 1 second. These images are still from Leesburg, correct?
Correct.
So we're seeing images, damage to property there. Some
Some of the siding came off this home.
Yeah. All right, Pete Perringer, you with us?
Yes, Tony, how you doing?
Good to talk to you. Let's talk about what's going on in Montgomery County. We have seen some of these images that you have been tweeting out, in particular one with a significant tree branch through a car. Can you tell us about that situation? Was anybody hurt in that situation?
Yeah, I think you're talking about the one on Old 100 Road, which is Route 109, and that occurred just before 8 o'clock. That is between Frederick Road and I-270. Of course, that road is closed, as are many roads up in the Boyds, Dickerson, and Poolsville area. So in that particular case, if we're talking about the one I'm thinking about, is there were no serious injuries. In fact, I don't think there were any injuries.
Great.
Through all of this, I'm not aware of any serious injury. We have had a lot of car crashes up in that area, a lot of debris, striking vehicles and things of that nature, a few collisions. But I'm not aware of any serious injury. Of course, we did have some injuries in a few of them, but a lot of debris in the area, particularly in the Up County area.
Hey, Pete, you also shared some photos of a car, the red car, that looked like it was smashed on Norbeck Road west of Lay Hill Road. It did mention in your tweet one adult with non-life-threatening injuries, so good news that this person is not hurt badly. But tell us what happened there.
Yeah, of course, police will investigate the circumstances and can try to determine what happened, but obviously a car left the roadway. That was in the height of the storm. I think that was around 8 o'clock also, or a little before 8 o'clock, actually. And the car crashed through a fence and left the roadway for whatever reason. Now, we did have a lot of, there was some pretty intense and heavy rainfall. We did have some lightning. So, again, wet road conditions, poor visibility. I don't know what the cause of that particular crash was, but certainly that car left the roadway, went through a fence, hit some trees. Again, no serious injury, but obviously it was pretty banged up. Okay.
We're going to show that picture once again, a very dramatic image of the limb into the windshield of a car, into the passenger seat. That is just extraordinary. And you say, as far as we know, no injuries, certainly no significant injuries with that picture. Can you tell me about property damage, what we know about property damage, homes, businesses, anything like that?
Yeah, we're still have people out doing some assessments of that. Of course, we do have some power outages, numerous wires down. Again, this is mostly in the Up County area. We did have some urban flooding or street flooding because we did have some pretty intense rainfall. In fact, it's still raining pretty good. But just trees down, wires down. In fact, in Germantown area, the location, Circle Gate Drive, actually, we have some pretty significant damage down in that area. We had some trees down that hit some buildings. But again, some property damage, but no serious injuries.
And Pete, you shared this earlier as well on your Twitter. You mentioned specifically condition red for your communications call center because you're seeing such a high volume of calls. Can you elaborate on what that exactly means?
Yeah, typically when we go on condition red, that's in this particular case, obviously some storm activity, a lot of call volume. Our units are committed to calls. We can adjust some of our dispatch assignments where we can allocate some different resources here and there. And again, we typically will limit our non-essential, non-emergency radio and telephone communication to keep a little bit of activity out of our communication center. But extremely busy. I don't have a good feel for the number of calls, but we have been pretty busy, pretty steady. And at least probably half of our units are deployed countywide. Most of the activity is in the Up County area.
Okay. Pete, we appreciate you so much. Thanks so much for hopping on the line with us again. We'll check back in with you. Please stay safe and stay safe to everybody out there, the first responders out there working hard. Thanks so much, Pete. So Howard, as you heard Pete say, I mean, they're going to be out there working these calls for several hours.
Exactly. They'll have to do that in potentially some treacherous conditions with the wind advisory and gusts 40, maybe 45, 50 miles an hour through later this morning into early afternoon until that passes. So sometimes they want to get the power back on. If it's not safe to go up to repair the lines, it could take a little bit longer than you'd like. I want to go over to CG19 because the town of Leesburg, if we can, has put out some pictures on their Facebook site and some of the damage coming from Leesburg earlier. In the town of Leesburg, see this tree snapped 20 feet off the ground, siding missing from that house, trees across some roads there, and just some closer looks from the town of Leesburg's Facebook page. So they've had some damage as well, and this was the same storm system that we were watching that Pete was also showing these pictures. So as it left Loudoun County, it came into Montgomery County. That prompted the tornado warning from the National Weather Service. It had rotation. We don't know if there was any tornadoes or not. The Weather Service will go do a storm survey and see whether or not it was just straight line winds or a tornado, but does it really matter if the damage is done to your property? The only thing we're watching now severe weather-wise is a severe thunderstorm warning for Prince George's County, and that goes till 9. We've seen other lines of showers and, yes, some thunderstorms. You see the lightning a few moments ago back in just coming in from the northern neck south of Colonial Beach over toward Milestone and northwest of Leonardtown. That could be a little bit of hail. When I see the pink like that, guys, we start to think we've got hail, and we just want to do a quick cross-section of that. One thing about winter storms, in the summer when we're looking at thunderstorms, we're talking about them being 30, 40, 50,000 feet. Now, this thing is not even 10,000 feet there. Maybe it's topping out at 15 or so. So much different dynamics to get severe weather in wintertime than in the summertime. Tony and Annie?
Still interesting to see it in the wintertime with this type of activity. We're going to do a phoner now with a gentleman by the name of Steve Caceres. He has provided us with some of that video that we've seen from the Leesburg area. Steve, are you there, Stephen?
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. You're talking to Tony and Annie. Thank you very much. You're in, I assume you live in Leesburg, is that right?
Yeah, I live in the Exeter subdivision here in Leesburg, about a half a mile away from where I took the video footage earlier.
Tell us what you experienced there.
So I was actually getting out of bed around 7:20, and a huge gust of wind and rain came through, and I just didn't know what it was, and the power went off a couple times, and just went on with my day and went out to go to the 7-Eleven and was driving downtown. And just started seeing all these trees down and just whipped my camera out and saw that it was pretty bad. So put it on Twitter and started getting all the hits.
So Steve, did you get an alert on your phone or any indication that a severe storm was rolling through?
Nothing whatsoever. I mean, we checked our phone right after it came through, and they said a severe thunderstorm warning, but pretty much everything had been done by that point.
Wow.
We're seeing some of these pictures now where it looks like there's damage to townhomes, siding ripped off, and the like. Tell me about your property and then what you've seen as you've been out and about a little bit.
So luckily in my area, there's hardly anything. There's barely even branches on the ground. But like I said, literally just a half mile down, it seems like the storm just kind of, I assume it was a tornado, just kind of carved a across Battlefield right through Exeter, and unfortunately nailed a couple of these houses and did some significant damage.
Have people come out of their homes? Are they walking around and kind of surveying what happened?
Yeah, when I was over there taking the video, there were people outside. I actually rolled my window down and asked one of the homeowners if I could help with anything, and they were just like, "No, what can you do?" But, a lot of people are outside. A lot of the school buses are still trying to pick up kids, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. But I think they're still on for today.
Yeah, I mean, we checked with Loudoun County Public Schools, their Twitter handle, and they have not updated that. So, hey, what's the condition like now, Steve, outside?
Actually, looking out right now, you can see a little bit of blue sky, and it's still windy, but, it's just kind of just rolled through here and then cleared up.
All right. Well, listen, man. We thank you for sharing the video. It's pretty dramatic. We thank you for taking the time to talk to us about what you've seen out there, and stay in touch with us. Let us know what's going on.
Got
All
it.
right.
Yeah,
All right.
be safe out there.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Good luck to you, Stephen Caceres in Leesburg. Thank you very much.
Hey, Tony, just getting some new video in from @GregoryKeller on Twitter. He was in Mount Airy when the tornado warning came through. This is on, yeah, you got it. And he was seeing quite the wind and rainstorm there.
Yeah.
He thinks if it was anything, it might have been an EF0 there. I think we can replay that over there. Just click on it. It should just play. And we're looking, yeah, we go. And you can see the wind-driven rain. This is coming through Mount Airy, where the BB&T Bank is. If you know Mount Airy, there's a Safeway nearby. And he did the right thing. He just pulled over and waited for this thing. I mean, if you're in a car, boy, if there's a tornado, not a good place to be. Thankfully, he was able to just hunker down, and he did not get hit by a strong tornado, but probably the gusty winds, as he said in his tweet, this is @GregoryKeller, maybe an EF0, and those are the weakest type of tornadoes. But even EF0 tornadoes damage things. They're dangerous. Any tornadoes, generally a dangerous situation there. So we thank @GregoryKeller. Again, video from Mount Airy a little bit earlier this morning. I am very happy to tell you that I don't see any watches or warnings.
Good.
And well, let me just double check. Well, I say that, and there we go. It was clicked off. That was the problem. We're still watching that one storm here. It doesn't look as impressive with the rainfall, but maybe a little wind with this one coming across 301. You see it, boom, all the way down from east of Bowie now, approaching Crofton, through Upper Marlboro, and then looks weaker near Rosaryville, and then a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued off to the south now in southern Maryland, across southern Calvert and central and northern areas in St. Mary's counties. So yeah, we're still dealing with this line, and we just got to get rid of this line, and we'll be in much better position. That one goes until 9:15. And yeah, still talking about the winds potentially gusting towards 60 miles an hour. And this one is moving northeast at 60 miles an hour. So you just got to hunker down and let this thing roll through you. Hopefully it doesn't do too much in the way of damage. But northeast at 60 puts this in Leonardtown at 854, Hollywood at 857, California 905, Solomon's 909, and over to Taylor's Island east of the bay at about 9:16. Annie, Tony?
All right, Howard, thanks so much. On the phone right now, we have Battalion Chief Jason Blake with us with Montgomery County Fire and Rescue. Good morning. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning.
Thanks so much for joining us. We've been talking with Pete Peringer as well, but fill us in on what you are dealing with right now.
So I'm up in the northernmost part of the county, covers Poolesville, Hyattstown, Damascus. Shortly before 8 a.m., large amount of rain, significant winds came through the area. Trees are down, some power outages. Firehouses are operating on generator power for a little while. But we did have some trees down across 109, just off 270, between 270 and 355. Came down on a car. No injuries. Tree went right through the windshield of the car, but there was no passenger. So, very lucky individual. Right now, calls have calmed down. We still have rain in the area, but no high winds.
Okay, we're going to try to get rid of that dial tone if you can stick with us for a moment. Chief, you there?
I am.
Chief? We may have to reset that. So what I was going to ask, and so far what we've learned from Pete Peringer and others, fortunately, no reports of injuries, certainly not any significant injuries, despite some of the pictures that we've seen. Jason Blake mentioned just a moment ago the branch through the windshield of the passenger side of a car. That was very dramatic. Luckily, no injury there.
Yes, thankfully, no injuries, and that was on Route 109 between 355 and 270. If we have the photo, let's show it. You can see just the tree there went right through the windshield. Again, Route 109 between 355 and 270. Thankfully, no injuries at that scene, but plenty of debris across the roadway. You've got tree downs, down trees, excuse me. And, you know, typically, I mean, cleaning this up is going to take days, obviously. And when you have significant damage, I mean, crews are on the scene with chainsaws, the works, trying to basically clean this up. So just be patient. Do we have Jason Blake back on the phone with us?
Not yet, but I can tell you who we do have. We have Kurt Brooks. He's one of our photographers. And tell me where he is now. We don't have him. We don't have him yet. He's driving through Maryland. We know that, and he's been shooting some footage of what we've seen out there. Kurt, are you there? Kurt?
Yeah, I'm here. I have our live unit up in our vehicle, and I am currently on 301 in Bowie, about ready to turn back northbound, as the leading edge of the storm has already passed us here. So I'm right here at Mitchellville Road, Queen Anne Bridge Road, just in Bowie, south of Route 50. The storm hit really hard, really quickly, but it was that line here on the east side went by in about 5 minutes flat. Very windy. Turning back northbound now and listening to the scanners to see if there have been any reports of damage here on the east side. So far appears to be fairly lucky, but we're going to keep listening and find out what we get over here in the Prince George's area.
Kurt, as you're driving around, did you run into any debris or any kind of incident along the way?
Well, I'm passing. Okay, there's some branches that have came down right there here on northbound 301. So far, so good. Like I said, I don't think the storms are severe on this side than they were over on the west side. Listening to the scanner, I'm fearing fairly heavy traffic out of Leesburg. Fire department, police talking about a lot of down trees down there, which you already know, but confirming they're talking about it quite a bit. Heard a call for a tree down on Beauregard in Alexandria. And so far, like I say, the east side, so far, so good. Fortunately, traffic's lighter because it's post-rush hour, and I think that'll help save us over here.
All right, we hope so. Stay safe on the roads. Let us know when you see some more interesting stuff out there. We appreciate it. Kurt Brooks, one of our chief photographers here at WUSA 9.
Hey,
Check
Tony,
back in with Howard.
I'm getting some new video in just from the Largo-Mitchellville area on Twitter, and you can see how this tree was blown down across this gentleman's driveway. I don't know if it did any damage on his car, but it certainly fell across that black SUV. This was in Largo-Mitchellville as that storm came through. No longer severe in Prince George's County, but still severe coming through Leonardtown to around Prince Frederick, approaching southern Calvert County right now. That's the really the one severe thunderstorm that we're still tracking in our neck of the woods, and that goes down to Montrose and Newland, but that'll be moving. And this one's racing east, northeast at about 60 miles an hour. So if we show you on radar real quickly, we'll just track it as that moves off toward the east-northeast. Solomon's at 904, Valley Lee 913, down in southern St. Mary's County, Linkwood 935, and Hurlock at 939. So thankfully no tornado warnings, but still plenty of damage. And Megan Rivers, you look like you've got something important to tell me.
Well, just another thing to be mindful of. Emergency management is reminding people if they get to an intersection and the stoplights aren't working, which is a huge issue right now in Montgomery County, to treat it like a four-way stop. This is a live look at 270 as folks are still making their way southbound. Pretty much a parking lot in the area, very slow moving traffic, speeds down to about 25 miles per hour. But this is kind of somewhat normal rush hour traffic as well, and folks who were probably delayed because of the storms that moved through. But again, if you see power lines, avoid the area, and if you get to a stoplight intersection with stoplights and they aren't working, treat it like a four-way stop.
Yeah, I saw a meme once that said, you know, it's a road, not a birthright. Share the lanes with your fellow drivers, please. You know,
Yeah.
Too soon, Howard.
got to be a little courteous.
So Howard, the worst of everything is over, right?
The worst of the severe weather is over. The other thing we're going to have to be watching for and be mindful of this afternoon, later this morning in a few minutes, we've got a wind advisory that's going to kick up. You see these storms themselves, they are now generally well south and east of Washington, over to the eastern shore in southern Maryland, southern Calvert and St. Mary's. But what we'll be dealing with between 9 and 3 is potential wind gusts 40, 45, maybe 50 miles an hour. With soggy ground, high winds, trees come down and they hit power lines and power outages. And if it's too windy for the folks in the bucket trucks to do the repairs, that takes a little bit longer. So patience and caution, the two words of the day.
All right, Howard, thank you very much. We want to go back to our reporter Nathan Baca. He is in Germantown live now, where he has found some significant damage. Nathan, what do you see?
Well, Tony, right now I see a close call. You see these trees have actually come down and brushing up against this apartment, except for that one right there where it actually landed on the roof. So far, the only damage I see is that a tree branch has gone through a window. It doesn't appear that there's any injuries. It doesn't appear that there's any major damage. I'm going to walk around here just to kind of show you what's going on. And our photojournalist Mark Bost is going around here just to show you what's going on. But let me walk over here to show you just that tree branch going through the window. But it's a glancing blow. What's going to be a little bit of a challenge as well is, as you see as well, the tree has also come across this roof. I'm going to show you just how big of a tree this is. I'm going to walk over here to show you the the base of the tree, give you some perspective. Right there, this is what fell. You can tell just how muddy the ground is over here, and it just caused this entire tree to collapse right onto that window over there. But again, a close call because I don't see major structural damage. So this is the point at Germantown. It's an apartment complex. Just for context, very close to the Germantown MARC commuter rail station. You can hear the trains. In fact, the train tracks are over there. But just to give you some context of where it is, East Germantown, a very close call for some residents here as a tree comes crashing down, glancing blow on their apartment. No apparent injuries. I haven't seen any firefighters or paramedics here. We're going to see if we can try to talk to whoever was here just to see what they heard, what they experienced, whether or not they want to talk or not, or whether or not they were at work, honestly. Because right now I just see some apartment complex workers here clearing out just some glass damage that happened inside that room over there. We'll continue to see what's going on here in Germantown. We're not in Germantown. Nathan Baca, WUSA 9.
And Nathan, if you can, maybe we can go to that home and knock on the door and see if there was anyone inside, because I know you mentioned there aren't any first responders on the scene, but maybe we can chat with the residents as well and get their experience. Thanks so much for that report.
We're going to try to do that, but it's an apartment complex, and honestly, the apartment complex may not want us here. They may want us to stay out of the way. So we're trying to get these pictures right now just to show you the context of what's happening out here in Germantown. But we're going to try to see if we can talk to folks out here. But these are the pictures just to kind of show you just the lucky, how lucky it is that this big tree didn't actually come crashing through the wall of the apartment, because if just for a few extra feet, that wall of that apartment could have really taken some damage. It could have gone through some bedrooms, but it didn't, just because, wow, it's close.
All right.
I've got Nathan's video up on that CG19 that he tweeted out at Nathan Baca TV. Just shows you how that root ball gave way and the whole tree fell. And, you know, if that tree was, 20 feet closer to the apartment building, could have been much worse. But when you see the root ball, I'm going to back it up right there, just give way like that, that's how you know this was some very significant winds. But also you wonder how soggy was the ground, because soggy ground just does not have the gripping power of dry ground.
The setup was perfect for this kind of thing. All right, stay with us. We've got more coverage. All right, Tony Perkins, Annie, you here, and our entire team covering the severe weather that's moved through the region. We had tornado warnings in effect earlier this morning. Those have dissipated. Great Day DC is coming up in just a few moments, but we wanted to keep you up to date on what's happening.
Yeah, so just to be clear, the tornado warnings have expired. Right now we are under a severe thunderstorm warning, and that is why we want to get to Howard right away to let people what they need to know. The
good news is no tornado warnings. They have all expired. We do have some severe weather. We're still tracking south and east of us over to the eastern shore is where we're seeing most of the activity now, although Anne Arundel County, what's left, the last bit of the line that produced some of the damage, is now coming through the Annapolis area over through Lake Shore right there on Route 2 north of 450 and 50 east of 97. That extends down throughout much of Anne Arundel County. And then Calvert County, you're seeing some light to moderate rain showers, but the severe weather's in the southern part of the county. You see this area there as we look on Route 2 south of Port Republic over toward White Sands, Calvert Beach, back toward Clark's Landing when you get into St. Mary's and California. That is a severe thunderstorm warning. That goes until 9:15. The eastern shore is at 9:45, and this thing has been booking at about 60 miles an hour. So as we track this storm and the tail end of the severe weather down there, that's going to be moving off toward Taylor's Island at 9:10, Cambridge at 9:23, and then it'll be more of a Delmarva issue. But for us, once we say goodbye to the storms, then we're watching more rain for another hour or so. The winds are going to start to kick up, and that's going to be a problem as we have a wind advisory in effect from now until 3 o'clock. Potentially gusts 40, 45, 50 miles an hour. And with soggy ground and maybe some trees that are a little bit compromised from the morning severe weather, we could have a few additional problems over there as well as we go into the afternoon. As far as the damage, boy, we're getting lots and lots of reports, even in Fairfax County and Clifton, getting some reports. Road closure due to a downed tree near Clifton Road and Main Street. We've got all sorts of damage reports all over Montgomery County, trees and wires down blocking Darnestown Road there. So in Dickerson, Germantown's got problems, as you just saw Nathan out there. And really the issue started in Fauquier County, went over to Loudoun County, and then Montgomery, Howard had some tornado warnings up into Carroll, and then the severe weather now south and east. So we'll settle down with the severe weather, but the wind advisory 9 a.m. to 3 o'clock could cause some additional problems today. Guys?
All right, Howard, thanks so much. Okay, on the phone with us now is Kathy Reynolds, one of the managers here at WUSA 9. Kathy, I know you're still making your way into work here to Northwest DC, but you're coming from the Gaithersburg area.
Yeah, actually I am. I live right on the Germantown-Darnestown border, and this morning I had gotten up early, let the dogs out, and very honestly went back to bed. And that alert came through, and boy, I shot right up, and I ran outside, grabbed the dogs, and brought them in just before this whooshing railroad sound came through. I mean, it was a loud sound. You could see the sky was bright, and it was really warm out. And so I got everybody in just in time. The power kicked out. We sat in the basement in the dark, and of course, my husband, I'm like shouting at him. I'm like, where are you? He's like, I'm brushing my teeth. I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're coming into the basement, right? So we did. We ended up in the basement. We sat there. We listened to you guys on the Facebook live stream. Came back out, and you probably saw my video. I mean, the backyard has all kinds of like trees, little trees down. The basketball hoop fell over. Just missed the car, thank goodness. Like the Mini Cooper would have been crushed, but the basketball hoop. However, I had two candle lanterns in the backyard, and they were the ones that we had bought for our wedding, right? So they were in the backyard, and they went over, and they're crushed. So we lost a little bit of like personal, sentimental stuff, but aside from that, we look pretty good.
And as you're driving in from Maryland towards D.C., what have you seen on the roads? What have the road conditions been like?
Yeah, I'm surprised at how little traffic there is. I mean, I think a lot of folks probably just haven't hit the road yet. The reports that Megan had that there were some trees down on like Darnestown Road, White's Ferry, that's still very possible. I'm obviously headed toward the city versus out, so that is very likely there. But there's a lot of like small branches down, just kind of on the sides of the roads. A lot of trash cans rolling through streets, but for the most part, this is
okay. Well, Kathy, please be careful.
in the summer. Yep. Okay. Thank you. We will. The summer we had much more damage. When the trees went down, it was much worse. Right now, things look good, but like Howard said, there's still a lot of high wind coming through, and this is a very beautiful treed area, so it's possible there will be more trees down later.
All right. Thank you very much, Kathy. We appreciate it. We'll see you here at work soon. As we continue to get images of some of the damage across the region, we want to go back to our Nathan Baca. He is in Germantown, Maryland, at an apartment complex. Nathan, did you say the name of the complex was The Point?
Yes, it's the point at Germantown. It's the point of Germantown here, and it's just off of Wisteria Road, near just west of Father Hurley and also west of Germantown Road. So let me just kind of show you what we've got going on here. Again, a close call as this large tree comes crashing down, and you can see just how large it is, and it glances the apartment. It does break a window over there, and then you'll see an even another large part of the tree does hit the roof area. I see minor roof damage, but it doesn't appear that the roof itself was actually broken in. It's just you see some damage onto the rain gutters and whatnot. But a very close call, again, as this very large tree comes crashing down. No sign of any injuries. I haven't seen any paramedics or firefighters here. So some good news here, just that this, you could just tell how saturated the ground is, and just taking a look at the base of this tree so you can get a sense of how large it is. Yeah, it's close, and it could have been a lot worse if not for the fact that if just a few additional feet over, you can just see how saturated the ground is over here. Grab some of the mud here. It's just so soft, and it just ripped apart the roots here.
Wow.
Seems like relatively shallow. So good news here for these folks that this large tree, even though it came down, it didn't actually bust through the wall whenever people were getting ready for their mornings.
That's right. Nathan, thanks so much. Thank you. Stay safe out there. And Howard, I mean, it didn't take much for trees to topple over because we've had days and days of rain. The ground is very saturated, and with those high winds, it's a combination for this type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, tough to tell if it's a soggy ground or the strong winds because soggy ground does not have the holding power. Either way, the damage is done. Weather Service will go out to determine whether or not it was a tornado or just straight line winds, but regardless, insurance adjusters are going to be busy. If there's good news right now is as we widen out the picture for you on the radar, you see all of the activity is primarily well south and east of Washington with any of the severe storms that are there. We still are tracking some strong to severe storms right along the bay now. So I would not be wanting to cross the Bay Bridge for the next 20, 30 minutes until this line passes. They may have some warnings, and we may hold traffic up for just a few minutes as that storm's coming through. Some heavier rain still just south of Washington, but the severe weather threat is now down across southern Calvert and southern St. Mary's, over towards Solomons, Lusby, Pax River, Valley Lee. It's past Leonardtown, and it's tracking down toward Ridge, Scotland Beach, St. Inigo's. Those areas will be dealing with that severe thunderstorm warning. And this line, by the way, is moving at like 60 miles an hour. So it's going to be in Cambridge at 9:23, Federalsburg, close to the Delaware-Maryland border on the Eastern Shore, around 9:45. And the other thing I wanted to tell you guys about before we go is there's a wind advisory from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. for much of the area. Gusts could be in the 40, maybe 50 mile an hour range. With the soggy ground and compromised trees from this morning,
Right.
we could have some, not just additional tree problems and power problems, but the guys and gals restoring power may have some difficulty and have to wait till the winds subside. So that's the latest, and just get ready for a windy and colder day, guys.
All right, Howard, thank you very much. We are going to join a Great Day DC in just a couple of moments, but of course we're going to continue to monitor the weather conditions across the region online and on air as is necessary on air. Remember to go to our website, WUSA9.com, for all the latest information.
Yep. Great Day Washington up next.